Hello, good afternoon. I am Cheryl-Ann Edwards with the Guardian television show. With me today, we are dealing with introducing authors on my show, local authors. We have an author by the name of L.Harding from Waterford Community. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you.
Thank you to be on the show. This book you wrote, A Life Redone, My Journey to a Life of Freedom. Now, I just want to say to you all that the reason why I'm bringing on these local authors is that they have a lot to share with you. And there is a lot that we can glean from Laura's book. Laura, tell me a little bit about this book. How did you start writing this book?
Well, the Lord just spoke to my heart and told me after I had a life-changing experience when I was 17 years old. He spoke right away through someone and said, you need to write a book about what you've been through. And I contemplated it for a few years, and then I went to a women's conference with some ladies in the year 2011, and the woman that was doing the conference spoke directly to the audience and said, there's a woman here that's been thinking about writing a book, and I'm telling you that you need to go home and finish it. And that was me.
Excellent. You know, what I want to say is that Laura is a young woman who was out there in the world, like most of us. Of course, we are also perfecting righteousness and holiness and a life unto the Lord Jesus Christ. This book is a book of her life, her testimony when she was out there in the world. I think, Laura, from reading this book, I understand that you have had you have been through depression, oppression, all different types of things that youths are experiencing out there. How did you overcome this type of sadness that you felt on the inside? How did you overcome it? What chapter you could refer to, number one? How did you allow that pain to come forth and overcome?
Well, the book mainly, it goes through my entire life, but the the climax of the book happened when I was 17 years old. 17 years old.
Huh.
And when in the midst of my pit that I had put myself in, after all of the consequences of my decision had fallen.
So what you're saying is, when you refer to the pit, because remember, we are trying to reach a lot of young people out there who may have experienced things that you have experienced and overcome. So what are you talking about? Addictions, what?
Yes, addictions, you had alcohol, drugs, you had sexual addictions, things that, you know, most
we all go through.
We do, but we shouldn't be, but we yes.
So that is what you are referring to as the pit.
Yes.
Okay, and what happened?
When I was 17 years old, at the very end of my junior year of high school, I moved out of my parents' house. And I moved in with my friend, her mom, her brother, and a friend of theirs.
Yes.
And I didn't know until I moved into the house that the mom smoked pot and that she was pretty much free reign. Go do as you want.
But you know, as you talk about marijuana, you know, a lot of people that I know, even my ex-husband used to smoke this marijuana that the whole world knows about. But to me, I never liked it. I tried it, and I don't like it. I get very paranoid and all this type of thing when I was out there in the world. But you know, there is a conception that it's okay. It is okay to participate in this drug. As a matter of fact, some people justify it and they say, you know, that is God's herbs. And you know, you could do that and you could do that. What exactly could you share out there? Do you think that with constant use of such can destroy your life?
Absolutely. I think that it's a porthole for Satan to get into your life and wreak havoc.
That's right.
And you know, you open yourself up to that and you give him free reign to do whatever he wants in your life. And that's exactly what he did to me.
Yes.
That's exactly what he did.
I see here that you have chapter 8, the rescue. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. The end of that summer, after I had moved out, it was going to be my senior year of high school, was approaching, that is. I had all of the decisions that I had been making fell down on me, and the woman that I was paying rent to was threatening to kick me out of her house.
Yes.
And here I was getting ready to go into my 12th grade year, and I thought, I have ruined my opportunity. I can't go back to my parents' house.
Yeah.
I have ruined that relationship. And there came a time where she threatened me over and over and over again, and it was just Satan was coming out of her, and it scared me. And the last time that she threatened to kick me out, I got down in the bathroom on my hands and knees, and I cried out to God. And I said, God, I don't know if you're here. I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can, please help me. Forgive me for my sins. Give my parents the ability to forgive me. Get me out of this mess.
Yes.
And I got up off of my knees and totally forgot about that instance.
You know, even I know of someone, a very close friend, and she was telling me that her daughter actually, and some of us, some parents out there, you all are experiencing all sorts of difficulties with your teenage daughters, your sons, nephews. You know, there, as Laura said, there is a way that seems right unto a man, but the end thereof is destruction. And we know that these children are undergoing, sometimes there is a root cause for all these rebellious behaviors. But as Laura indicated in her book, and I encourage you all to get this book, especially teenagers, that she had to cry out to God. And she did. Even though sometimes you parents, I'm a parent of 2 children, sometimes we need to also ourselves intercede on behalf of our children. Sometimes they really do not know how to get out of the pit. And Laura, you're saying here, what made you say this? There's a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. Proverbs 16:25, pertaining to this chapter.
Well, you know, I had put myself in a pit, thought I actually had obtained freedom that I'd always wanted.
Yes.
But in the end, it was actually putting me in a cell, in a jail, in a pit.
Yes.
Something that I thought was right turned out to be wrong.
You know, Laura, also in reading in this book, you spoke about so many emotional conflicts that you have been involved in, hurt, lost. And I want to talk a little bit about your loss and how did you overcome this? You wrote that you got in a really terrible accident, almost died, got brain damaged, and God brought you out of this. Explain to me, talk a little bit about that experience.
Well, after I cried out to God for help out of my pit, just a couple weeks later, I took my driving test and got my driver's license. And I had bought a car that was sitting at my mom's house, and she wouldn't let it move until I got the license. So I went over and got my car from her, and I immediately took a trip to Cedar Point with my friends, and I drove, and me being the dummy that I was at that time, didn't really understand the power that had been granted to me when I had those keys.
Yes.
I took my boyfriend, his brother, and his brother's girlfriend, who was 8 months pregnant.
So you all got in a terrible accident.
We did. We went to Cedar Point and did fine. We camped out that night. On the way home, we got into an accident involving a semi-truck.
So he died, I saw in the book. Your friend died.
My boyfriend.
Your boyfriend,
yes.
He died. And were you the only survivor? I can't remember.
No. The girl in the back seat that was pregnant, she was 8 months pregnant.
Yes.
Lost her baby.
Oh, yes.
And she had many issues. So did her boyfriend. He had issues, but I was brain injured. I had a
Yes.
severe head injury, and I was comatose for, I think it was 14 days.
Yes.
Might have been a little bit more.
So you got in this
Yes.
accident, and upon coming your consciousness now in the hospital, and people would let you know what really took place and the loss, knowing that you lost your boyfriend. How did you deal with that?
I don't think I was aware of what really happened because I was just so brain injured.
So when that time, did you ever come to?
I mean, I cried, absolutely, but what had happened was my brain injury had reverted me back, so I was a child in my head.
Oh, you had experiences like
Yes.
that. Yes, it's
So,
true.
I mean, I had I actually didn't even know who my boyfriend was until I saw a picture of him. And then I'm like, oh.
Came back to your senses.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is that, you know, in everything, we are relating to individuals who have been experiencing the very same things that you have been speaking about in this book. And really and truly, people, this book is really an encouragement. And, you know, there is a scripture that says in Jeremiah 29:11, and she wrote it here, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and to not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." And that is exactly what took place in Laura's life. After a period and a journey of disappointments and hurts, and a whole lot more. You get the book. I encourage you, A Life Redone, My Journey to a Life of Freedom, and how God came into her life and totally reformed her, changed her, healed her, and brought some new joy into your life. And now Laura is also a part of a ministry, and she's also speaking the word of God to others and encouraging other youths. Laura, before we close, do you have anything to share? Look at the camera and just share something with the youths out there. Tell them about the Lord.
I want to encourage you to seek after more of the presence of God.
That's right.
That is going to be your key. That's going to help you escape the clutches of the enemy.
Amen.
And it's going to give you an understanding that God is real and that you'll be able to sense Him, His presence.
Amen. Wonderful. This is Cheryl-Ann Edwards from Waterford Community W10 TV, and join us with The Guardian again. Hi. Good. As a matter of fact, this is our next guest. I'm very excited. This is Miss Baraka Miller. Welcome, Baraka.
Thanks for having me.
This is a really wonderful person and a friend of mine. And she's also the author of a great novel. It's called The Scales of Love, The Battle and Differences of Love. And I know this is a wide and broad topic. And I just want to let you take the ball. What this book is really, what is the main objective of this book, Baraka?
The main objective of the book is for individuals to start doing a personal, internal analyzation of themselves.
Yes.
Because a lot of times in relationships, we tend to fault the other persons for our issues and the blames when actually that person is our trigger.
Yep.
And that person is triggering something that's really embedded within you. And it's our responsibility to figure out what that trigger is.
I'm telling you.
So it causes you to really analyze yourself personally, whether you have to go back to your childhood, early years of life, to understanding where you are now in your relationship. So you could understand how you do relationships so that you could understand who you're in relationship with.
So basically it's about relationships.
It's about relationships. It's about
across the board too.
Across the board too. No ethnicity, culture, anything. It's based off my own personal experiences. It talks about really the main character, Brayla, and her love interest, Bishop. And it's really more about Brayla taking, like I said, a deep internal review reflection
herself.
of who she is, her relationships, her relationship with her father, understanding how she deals in relationship with men,
Yeah.
so she can understand who, like I said, who she's in relationship with, so that she began her healing process
Yes.
and journey.
One of the things I realized with the book too, and which is happening with a lot of women in relationships, it goes way back to our past and even our relationship with our fathers, our mothers. And sometimes it really takes effect, and I would say a negative effect within the relationships that we have with men, you know. What can you say about that? How does a woman really deal with something like that, Baraka?
I think some of that has to do with how we look at ourselves too. As
Okay.
women internally, we deal with the self-esteem
Yeah.
and our confidence and some of those issues that you also mentioned, you know, daddy issues and things like that. But I think a lot of it really boils down to those experiences has altered our own personal
Yes.
growth and confidence in who we are, and really to truly understand our real value and that what we really deserve.
Yes.
And a lot of times we find ourselves settling
Yes.
when we shouldn't be settling or compromising what it is that we really want in a relationship. So we really need to dig within ourselves and really
Yeah.
figure out what it is that we really want in a relationship, and really decide, are you really settling for the relationship that you're in, or are you settling? And if not, what is it causing you not to really have what you know that you truly deserve? Because a lot of people, they're just settling and they're compromising, and they're
Yes.
just, you know, dealing with the situation when they're really unhappy. And a lot of people compromise their happiness just to be in a relationship.
But you know, this is something here I want to read definitely. You said here at the back of the book, the scales of love is a realistic portrayal of how love brings out the good in people, and the fear, misunderstanding of it can bring out the bad as well. Exactly, explain that.
That was actually an endorsement from a relationship specialist by
Yes.
Stefan Labassiere.
Stefan Labassiere.
He is a phenomenal relationship coach.
Yeah.
And pretty much like he said, a lot of going back to relationships, when you're settling for the badness. And a lot of times when we're in a relationship and we start to see things are in a turmoil, we start to focus on the bad and not the good.
Yeah.
And it causes really those triggers that we're getting from that person is really triggering what's really embedded in us. And we don't understand where it's coming from sometimes, and we're trying to figure it out because we don't want to walk away from the relationship. We want to try to figure out what the solution was going on.
You know, there is sometimes too, they say, okay, even though you're in a relationship and because you love the person, sometimes you need to compromise a little bit. What do you think about that?
I think
The
compromising is
situation.
good in a relationship, especially if you're in a marriage.
Yes,
But if you're not in a marriage, you have to really question yourself, what are you really compromising?
exactly.
Because an engagement is not really a guarantee, because engagements get turned off all the time.
Yeah,
So compromise is excellent if you're in a marriage,
Yeah.
because that's something that you just can't walk away from.
So you
have
think
to really.
you shouldn't compromise?
I think that compromising, you have to really consider what you're compromising. I'm not saying you
that's
don't
the next
compromise
thing.
it. You have to consider what are you compromising if you're in a long-term relationship
you
and
know,
you're dating.
Baraka, in relationships, whether you are married or not, you know, I was wondering, sometimes it's not always something drastic that you're experiencing, like abuse, physical abuse. But with me, from my experience, I experience mental abuse. And that really took a toll on me. I've never experienced that before, mental abuse for a couple of years, and it was from my ex-husband. And it escalated, you know, and I am wondering, even, it starts before, but sometimes we don't see it, or we ignore it, and still go into the marriage with that. But it was so terrible that I had to walk away and get a divorce, of course, because it was escalating into, you know, physical. So I'm wondering, what are the signs that we really need to look for in a relationship before we even commit, no matter how much we love that person? What are the
one
signs?
of my alarm's going up on my phone. I think one of the main things you need to have before going into a relationship is the understanding
Yes.
of the friendship.
Yes.
Because if you don't have a
Yes.
friendship, why are you even in a relationship? So I think the foundation basically should be first and foremost the foundation of God.
Yes,
Then,
okay, yes.
then making sure
Yes.
that you have that friendship, because a lot of
Yes.
people, what they're finding or discovering is that they're in a relationship but they don't have a friendship.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier for some people to walk away from a relationship because they don't have the friendship component. And you see a lot of times, well, some of the times, some people are in a relationship, they treat their friends better than the person that they're in a relationship with.
Yes.
So you have to make sure that that relationship and loyalty is there
Yeah.
before you even commit to or considering going into a long-term
But
relationship.
Baraka, before we close off here, The Scales of Love. I mean, it's really a great book, right?
Thank you.
Okay, so someone is about to read this book. What can they really extract out of this?
I'm sorry, it's gonna keep going out. I would say reading The Scales of Love, the ultimate goal when you finish the book, it will ultimately take you to really doing an internal reflection of who you are.
Yes.
And what it is that you really desire to have in a relationship.
Yes.
Because it will cause you to first look at yourself, because you start to get engulfed in the character and be like, oh wow, okay, I've been there, I've seen that. And it really makes you start to think about your past relationships and analyzing, okay, I've been there, then I don't want to experience that. So it really causes you to want to change and really put in perspective what it is that you want from a mate in a relationship. Then it will cause you to look at the person that you're in a relationship with, if you're in a relationship with, to see this person is really the person that you want to be in a relationship with.
That is so true. You know, another thing, I will encourage everybody to try and get this book, The Scales of Love. We will put up more information on about accessing this book. Where can we get this book?
You can actually get it online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iBooks, Google
Okay, so
Books.
it's online.
So it's online.
And we'll have some more information up concerning The Scales of Love and our previous author that we had on here earlier today. Baraka is also a counselor and a relationship specialist, and she's really, really a wonderful person to communicate with and to get advice as well. She's also a woman of God, most importantly. And Baraka, is there anything you'd want to tell the audience to encourage them concerning relationships before engaging in marriage?
Well, I would just want to say that the Bible talks about everything that we're experiencing now, and I'm going to ad-lib, it's not something that hasn't been experienced before. So a lot of times when we're in a relationship, we always think like we're the first, but we're actually not the first person to experience what we're going through. So just to be encouraged to know that there is a rainbow at the end of the tunnel, and all things work together for your good. And the end of a thing is always better than the beginning. So just be encouraged and always be positive about your situation, and be mindful of what you allow to come out of your mouth, because your words have power.
Yes.
And they create the atmosphere and desires of what you want, because out of the heart,
the mouth speaks.
Right.
So get The Scales of Love by Baraka Miller, not Barack Obama, Baraka Miller. So it's a beautiful name though. And thank you for being on.
Thanks for having me.
I would love for you to come back on the show where we can get into this book.
Okay.
I know we have limited time, right? Thank you so much. And thank you, audience. Thank you so much for viewing The Guardian. We'll be bringing more to you. Thank you.